I'm going to kick off. Very short, quick little chat from myself about, what RapidSpike is thinking about. And very big welcome to our, I think it's our fourth or fifth customer forum. The videos will be sent out afterwards. So if you miss anything or you want to take notes or anything, there is definitely going to be some videos afterwards. So you don't have to worry about that. And I think one of the things that, obviously Bryn and Harry will go into things that we're doing currently. And I wanted to just sort of talk briefly about what RapidSpike's thinking about in the next 6 months or so. And one of the big things that we did think about and are currently thinking about is the PCI 4 coming into effect in next year. It's got some future-proof changes which are coming in a year after, in March 2025. But the big thing that we think about is what's called 11.6.1, which is a exciting thing for RapidSpike, which mandates the deployment of mechanisms to detect changes in unauthorized modification of consumer-based HTTP headers and payment pages. So that means that essentially everything in your payment page, be all the third parties, all the code, all the interactions that go on a payment page must be monitored to ensure that you're not getting hacked or you have some kind of monitoring in there. So, and RapidSpike has been doing this for, since 2018. It just so happens now it's actually going to be mandated by PCI compliance. And that just doesn't, that's actually even the smallest providers are going to need to provide this kind of, almost like an audit that this has happened. You know exactly what third parties, what are happening on your site, and just keeping a general record of things that could impact users. So this is very exciting for us because, we've had this piece of technology for a while now. And, obviously 2 years ago, we knew it was going to be mandated in PCI 4. And we will be looking at more improvements to that part of the system as well, because we can always do more for our customers and make things even more interesting. And what RapidSpike does now is you can actually provide a report to an auditor to say, yeah, we have audited our site. These were the payment. These were the third parties on our site at any given time. So that's quite an interesting thing for us. And then on the performance side, which is the majority of what Bryn will be talking about in a bit, is the new change of we're losing FID. Well, we're not losing FID. FID will remain as a web vital. It just won't be a core web vital because they're putting FID being first input delay. INP is coming in, interaction to next paint, because Google now believe that is going to be the thing that is going to be more, it shows better gauging of performance. Now that's already been captured, planned in to be live March 2024. So, we'll be looking into capturing of INP to make sure that, that works well for everybody. Google actually have been emailing out via search consoles to people who are failing INP. So actually, if your site is failing, you may or may not have had a Google email, which shows how this is part of a longer term sort of plan to be more stringent on poorly performing sites. But that said, you've got a number of months to sort it out. One of the good things about RapidSpike is that you have constantly got the ability to track these changes, and RapidSpike takes a worst case scenario and makes sure that your first, whenever you log onto the site, it's uncached, and it takes the worst case scenario for you. So if you're passing in RapidSpike, you should be absolutely smashing it in your normal core web vitals. And so that is a hopeful thing that we can really improve that first uncached view for you. And you can still have a poorly performing site. You can still be down the search rankings with good core web vitals, because if you've got terrible content and you don't look after your SEO and all those kinds of things, so it forms part of the solution. But obviously, Bryn will come on to talk about it. We're doing a lot with this because we know that Google are going to go harder on it eventually. a lot of people think it's for the good of the websites. You know, there are probably other ways to think about it. You know, it is good for the environment to have a fast website and a good, well-performing website. So there's a massive sustainability angle there. And also, you know, Google have probably spend billions on server technology across the world, and when they're spidering slow sites, that has an actual business cost, an impact to them. So, you know, it is massively in Google's interest to help you make your site faster, you know, as more sites come online, to basically relieve pressure on their own infrastructure as well. So, you know, and at the end of the day, a faster website improves your improves the ability to take more customers' payments and do more business. So, you know, there are multiple reasons why Google are pushing this, and multiple reasons why we think it's important. But without further ado, I shall pass on to the guys, and they will give a presentation in a moment. So off you go.
Hi, I'm Bryn. I'm Head of Product at RapidSpike. Today I'm going to be doing a bit of a product summary. We'll do an update on the software releases we've made over the last sort of 9 months or so. We'll talk about the features that we're particularly proud of, and I'm going to do a deep dive into the performance monitoring feature that we've just released. So without further ado, let's get straight to it. I'm going to start off with a recap of everything that we've done in the last sort of 9 months or so, certainly since the end of 2022. You can see there's lots of stuff been released for the app. We've got the third-party explorer. We've got the ROI calculator, where you can calculate how making changes to your website can impact your bottom line. The PCI and GDPR dashboard, particular focus on PCI there because of the changes to the legislations in PCI. Really important. RapidSpike can help with that. Failure analysis dashboard, which is mainly for user journeys, but also page load monitors. So obviously when you get a failure, we've produced a dashboard that can help you really sort of understand why those failures have happened, or try and understand what the cause might have been. Credit adjustments. Back at the beginning of this year, we updated the credit costs for a few of our core monitors. The idea being that we could make it essentially cheaper for you to run them at at a slower interval, and made it more cost effective to have more monitoring set up on your account. More monitoring means more data means that we can produce more insights for you. So generally a pretty good thing there. UX and navigation improvements. This is an ongoing project. We're always trying to make the app easier to use, better to use, and I think we've come a long way. The UX improvements are still going on. In fact, there's a release due very shortly that improves the navigation and main navigation menu a little bit more, makes it easier to quickly jump between websites if you have multiple websites. So keep your eyes peeled for that one. The user journey script editor had underwent a major update too, which we're quite proud of, just to help, particularly when you're editing scripts. It makes it much easier to see everything, jump around, there's a navigation bar and so on. Selenium for infrastructure upgrades. These have happened. This is also under the hood technology updates that's pushed our software forward significantly, and we're going to be doing some R&D in this area to try and learn what we can get out of Selenium 4, what more we can get out of the new software, the new technology. So watch this space. And finally, of these, the performance Web Vitals monitoring dashboards, absolutely critical to monitor your page performance, and we've hugely improved the way that we do this. So let's just do a little focus in on a few of those features. The first one being the third-party explorer. So I've got a screenshot here of that dashboard, which you might recognize if you've used it, where we focus in on, we analyze all the different third parties that we can see, produce diagnostics, and some key stats on those third parties. So JavaScript files, are they blocking your main thread? So they're contributing to a slowdown in the page load? Are they performing long tasks? And what's their load history like? Are those files failing to load frequently, or are they frequently slow? This is going to help you really understand whether or not you've got a good or a bad third party installed on your site. Next, we've got the ROI calculator, which is an immensely powerful tool for understanding how changes that you could make, that you'll learn about through RapidSpike, how those changes can impact your bottom line. And these metrics come, we've not just invented all these numbers. We've done a serious amount of research to understand, the numbers that underpin the calculator, and they come from industry benchmarks from leading players, which essentially means that you can trust the numbers that we are producing. In fact, if anything, the numbers are a little conservative. The calculator is hugely powerful and analyzes all the key stats, metrics around which RapidSpike can analyze your site, and then tells you a lot about it. Next, we've got the failure analysis dashboard I mentioned earlier. So you can compare the failing test. So this dashboard is designed for you to understand root cause analysis behind failures, and this will let you analyze the failing test against the last successful test that we performed. So you can start looking at what elements were there, what elements failed to load, discrepancies in the videos that you might have recorded, and tons more information. Finally, we'll look at the user journey script editor, again, that I mentioned earlier. We have a full screen view now, which means it's much easier to see everything. And there's a little navigation bar on the side to help you jump between steps. Particularly useful for long user journey scripts that have long, complex sets of actions in. Helps you move around, navigate, and we've designed a few extra tools to help make this easier. So that was a summary of what we've been working on, and what I would like to do next is focus in on the performance monitoring tools that we've just added. So I'm going to take you on a very quick tour of the new dashboards that we've added for the Web Vitals monitor. There won't be time to show you everything, but watch this space, because I think I'll do a longer, deeper dive video in the coming weeks where I'll go over these screens in a little bit more detail. But for now, the purpose of this presentation really is just to give you a flavour of the scope and scale of the changes that we've made, and hopefully show you, enough that will make you want to set these monitors up and have a look for yourselves. Let's dive right in. First thing I should say is that the software went live last month in June, so we're still tweaking it. There's some updates being worked on at the moment, but they're fairly small ones, so I don't think it will change a great deal from what you see today. So first off, before I get into the dashboard itself, you'll notice that I'd just like to focus on the navigation menu here. Before we only had one screen for the Web Vitals monitor, we've now got a whole suite of different dashboards with a breakdown of all the information within. So as you can already see, there's a lot more to play with. We've got headlines, network and server, JavaScript and CSS, images, and then the compare tab. The other thing I'll point out is over on the right hand side here, we've got this compare to button. For most of the screens, we'll be providing compare information for the metrics that we're showing you. The comparison will be, I think the default is previous week, but you can choose previous test, or the test yesterday, or even a month ago. So if you're looking at two tests within a particular time frame, let's say over a deployment or change to your website, then it will make it easier for you to monitor, see the changes that you've been making, and compare the two together. So this first dashboard is the headlines dashboard, and it's the least change, I think, from the old screens. But so basically, we take each of the core Web Vitals by default and display them with a score. And you'll see here we've got LCP, we've got FID, CLS, first contentful paint. You can swap and change these metrics using the toggles. You can choose which metrics you want to look into. They'll show you a graph over time, and they also show a distribution graph. As usual, everything here is scored with our red, amber, green scoring system, so you can see when the test was considered passing and when it was considered needs improvement. If we've got Crux data, we will also show that here. So this particular site I'm looking at, I don't think had Crux data. If Crux was available, it would appear as well as an option underneath these two graphs. So tons of information to already to unpack. You'll notice the little score there. That's the comparison to the previous week's test. So in this particular example, the largest contentful paint has gone up by 8% since the last test. So perhaps changes that have been made to this website haven't improved it. There's also an explore button against some of the metrics. Clicking on that will open another window. So in this case of largest contentful paint, we'll show you what the largest contentful paint was. So if it's an image, the image will be there, and more metrics about that particular image for you to understand. For cumulative layout shift, we'll show you what the shifts were. The next section on headlines is an interactive film strip. So we had a film strip before. This one's much better. We've added in the actual event timings, so you can click on these and it will zoom you in the film strip to the point at which that event timing took place, and then you can obviously understand how users have experienced the site as it's been loading. We've also added in an event timeline with the various events color coded, as you can see, based on whether or not what type of event they were. And we've added in long tasks too, so you can see when the JavaScript long tasks were taking place during the process of the page load. And that's just the headlines tab. If we move on to the next tab, which is the network and server tab, the first thing we get is an element waterfall. I really think this is a really useful view because obviously it's going to show you all the files that make up the website as they loaded in. And the timings, obviously, and you also get file sizes. Again, we've got the comparison information, so we're comparing against the previous week, and you can see whether it's a brand new file or if it's an existing file, and whether or not it's changed, whether or not it's got bigger or smaller. There's icons to indicate whether they're a blocking file, a JavaScript file, or a long task JavaScript file too. So waterfalls are really powerful for understanding page load from a more technical side. We have waterfalls in other monitors in RapidSpike, notably the page load monitor. And if you've got a page load monitor set up, clicking on this button on the right here will take you to the latest test waterfall. So you can have a look at the page loads version of that same data, which will vary a little bit. It'll give you a little bit more information about things like server timings, DNS and connect and blocking and all that stuff. So what we're trying to do here really is link the different monitors within RapidSpike together to give you a more detailed picture of what is happening as your page is loading. The JavaScript tab includes a overview of the main thread breakdown, which is obviously useful to understand what's happening within the JavaScript of the page load, where it can be optimized. In particular, we've got JavaScript execution times for the individual files, and further down on that same tab we've also got a third-party view, which shows you all the different third parties that are loading in your site, and the timings of those third parties. So obviously JavaScript is hugely impactful on performance, or it can be, and this particular tab has a ton of information on it for understanding how you can improve that, or particularly where the worst offenders are for in your JavaScript, potentially in your first or third party files, what's blocking, what's performing slowly or or poorly, and where you can improve. Next we've got the images tab, and a couple of really powerful views here. The first one is a revisit of those screenshots, but these are just the timings, the image related timings, so the render timings, paint timings that you can see of the site. Again, we're doing a comparison, so we've got the first row here is the current test, and the row underneath is the previous month's test. So if you've made a deployment in that time, you can see how things have improved or got worse. Really useful to keep an eye on the individual paint timings, because obviously this is user experience of performance as it loads in. Further down on the Images tab, we have the Image Optimization Wizard, which we've added in a really powerful little tool, because it'll analyze all the images on the site, on the page that we've seen, and then we've got a number of different metrics by which you could improve them. The one shown here is the modern formats metric. So if the images are in PNG or JPEG format, could they be better improved and optimized as a WebP, for example? And if they could, how much potential file size saving could you make? The other different metrics we measure are things like actual just image optimization or resizing and deferring. So what we can do here, or as a site owner, what you can do here is you can click through the different formats, look at the images that are the worst offenders in here, and then focus on those to improve. On the right hand side, you'll notice a screenshot. That's the full site screenshot. And what happens is if you click on the highlight button for any one of the images, it will show you where that image is within the screenshot. So it's just useful for finding it. The final tab that I'm going to show you or we'll talk about is the Compare tab, which is the most powerful one of all. What we do is we have two compare options. You can compare individual test results against one another from the same test, same page or different pages. And as I'll show you in a minute, we can also compare different page trending graphs, so how they've improved over time. When we take two tests, individual tests, and compare them, we're looking at the specific test result. It's a snapshot, a point in time. So here we've got a film strip. We've got two film strips where we're comparing a test that took place on the 9th of July against one that took place on the 11th of July. And if you've made changes in that time, you can see how a user would experience the page load, and obviously really easily compare the two. Obviously in this particular case, the site was loading a little bit more quickly on the 9th of July than it is at the moment. That large header graphic is loading in a bit more slowly. So that's potentially where you would start to understand or start to analyze page performance. There's a lot more on this dashboard to look at, where we compare the breakdown, content breakdown, and metrics, the individual metrics of each test. But as I mentioned earlier, you can also compare two pages. So when you take a two page, we compare the trend over time of those two pages. So for example, in this case, we're comparing 4 pages. As you can see here, we've got RapidSpike Home, Performance, About Us, and Request a Demo pages. And we've got a snapshot timing for each one of those 4. But then we're also comparing them over time. Each one's given a different line color. And as you can see there, you can start to understand how things are improving or getting worse for each of those pages over time. You can compare to the same site, in this case different pages on the same site. You can compare to other sites, so you could choose to compare to your competitors. So you could take your home page and compare your home page against your competitor's home page and see how things are progressing. And as with within this particular case, we were looking at the metrics tab. We've also got a film strip on here, content breakdowns, and much more information to help you understand the difference between the pages. So that's a huge amount of information in a fairly short space of time. As I said before, I'll be doing a longer video where we'll take a site and we'll do a full performance breakdown of the new dashboards. But I just kind of wanted to indicate a little bit of the scope and scale of everything that we've done, and hopefully you've got a sense of that here in the new Web Vitals dashboards. I'm now going to do a very quick summary of the roadmap that we're currently working to at RapidSpike. The obvious caveat for any roadmap conversation is that these things can change as new priorities come up and situations evolve. But at the moment, this is the plan that we're working to. So I'll jump straight into it. This is a high-level roadmap, I should say, so there's not a huge amount of detail here, but I'll summarise it as best I can. Our main focus is on user journeys. So a lot of the things that I'll talk about are related to user journeys or just in getting data out of the system. So the first thing we're working on is improved user journey alerts. Specifically, this is the alert email templates. We're just trying to put a little bit more information into them and more root cause analysis. So hopefully that will mean that when an email does drop into your inbox, it gives you a little bit more of a steer on what's going on. So it's not just a case of just telling you that there's a big problem, it'll tell you a little bit more about what that problem might be. The next thing to mention is attack detection, which is our Mage Cart detection tool. We're going to be doing a bunch of improvements here, mainly focused around making it easier to set it up, but also just some general dashboard improvements, a bit more metrics, a bit of streamlining, that sort of thing. Website summary and analytics. So we're trying to sort of cobble together a little bit of a better view of the monitors that you've got set up for a website and give you some more trending, some more high level stats that might be useful for you to understand at a glance how the general health of how your site is doing, without having to sort of look at the details too much. Watch this space, I think, on that one, because I'll be doing a lot more planning towards this project very soon, and we'll be potentially teasing this in some videos. Next one is new live status pages. We love our status pages. They're great. They work really well. My feeling is that they need a coat of paint, so we're going to be improving those and jazzing them up a little bit. It's a fairly quick project, this one. Updated report designs. Yeah, I think again our reports, some of them are, could be improved. Some of the terminology, some of the layouts tweaked, improved. So particularly since we've made so many changes to the application itself, it'd be nice to bring the reports up to speed on that. So we're working on those. And the final thing that I'd like to mention is user journey scripting. User journeys are, of course, our most powerful tool, and they do nearly everything. We're always keen to make it easier to work on user journeys, to have user journeys running in your site, and the scripting is a big part of that. So some of the suggestions that have been made to us that we are seriously considering are things like a version history of changes, so you could potentially roll back, for example, logging of changes, so who made the change and when, so you can understand a little bit more about why things are evolving, or where they've evolved in the script. And also script templates, so the means to save and store little chunks of scripts that you could then reuse elsewhere or on different websites and different journeys, just to make the script writing process a little easier. So that is 6 projects. It's not everything we're working on. We seem to be doing so many things, as you have seen earlier from the product update. We've made so many improvements and changes just over the last 9 months alone. But these are the major projects that we've got on the books, to look forward to, and we'll be talking about them, I expect, in our marketing. If you do have any thoughts or feelings about this, then just let us know. Get in touch and speak to your account manager, and let us know what you're interested in seeing next. And that's all from me, so thank you very much, and I'll pass you over to Harry.
In case you don't know me, my name is Harry. I'm Customer Success Lead at RapidSpike. As Bryn has outlined, there have been some fantastic improvements to the RapidSpike platform, especially when it comes to performance. We therefore have developed 6 customer success initiatives to ensure customers are getting the most out of the platform and utilising the data effectively day to day. Firstly is tool consolidation. At the start of 2023, many companies started reviewing tools, identifying gaps in monitoring, but most importantly, finding ways to effectively utilise budgets. RapidSpike covers reliability, performance, and security. So, if you're primarily using it, let's say, for user journeys, you may be interested in exploring our other tools, which are currently being tracked by something else. Whether it's to improve the data you are collecting or budgetary, if you contact us with the information, we can assist in the setup and planning of transitioning you from one tool into RapidSpike. Next is user journey optimization. If you have user journeys with us, it may have been a while since they were reviewed. For managed customers, we conduct regular reviews. However, for self-service customers, it may have been a while since the scripts were optimized. Common red flags, which suggest a review may be needed, are intermittent failures, changes in A/B testing or pop-ups, causing issues, and changes in the customer path, which may need scripting changes. If you would like us to investigate, get in touch and we can have a call to review your monitoring. This then moves us on to the performance setup. As Bryn has covered, we've had some fantastic improvements to our performance monitoring. Earlier, we also decreased the credit cost of these monitors, making it more accessible for customers. We do, however, realise that it can be quite daunting, working out which pages need your attention and limiting gaps. If you are currently reviewing your site performance, get in touch and we can provide a plan for the setup and provide assistance to ensure the data generated is in keeping with your KPIs. These 3 initiatives focus specifically on account setup and maintenance. The next 2 are for utilising the platform to its full potential. The majority of customers come to us with a concern or a gap in their monitoring which needs covering. This often leads to the rest of the platform going untouched, especially if it isn't relevant to the primary user's work. To bridge this gap, we're offering free training to all of our customers who think other departments or team members would find value in incorporating RapidSpike into their role. A lot of the time, the monitoring is already set up and no further credits are needed to be purchased. This may also assist gain in tool consolidation. Next is feedback. Those who have used RapidSpike since the beginning know that we have evolved directly through customer feedback, shaping the product. It is therefore essential to continue collecting feedback on the monitoring you like, dislike, and most importantly, things that could be improved. Finally, I thought it was worth speaking about our referral and review scheme. You can access this within your RapidSpike account, and we have a number of incentives from vouchers to extra credits and a reduction in the cost of your plan. If you are interested in any of these initiatives, get in touch with myself or your account manager and we can set up a call to discuss further.